thoughts for me? Okay. I'm Emma. Something about an inclusive list. I forgot that thing. This is Naomi.
So I wanted you to learn a bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And you learned it to what level? Are you guys A's and B's?
Yeah, I learned it to an A level.
And you learned it to a...
B level.
This is right now. You're trying for an A. I'm good with that. All right. And so you got something to say about each chapter then?
Yeah.
And it's like one of the concepts from each one of the chapters?
Yeah.
Okay.
So chapter 1 was Intro to Chemistry, and we learned about pure chemistry and applied chemistry. And pure chemistry is like just learning about chemistry and like learning about stuff. But applied chemistry is applying it to matter and like making things like medicine and stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree with that one. In chapter 2, we will learn about extensive and intensive properties. An extensive property is a property that changes when the size of the sample changes. An intensive property doesn't change when you take away some of the sample.
Chapter 3, we learned
Well,
about...
wait a minute. Don't you have a 2?
Oh,
2?
yeah. We learned about mixtures in chapter 2. A mixture is when something is made up of two substances, but they're not combined chemically, and they can be separated. In chapter 3, we learned about the difference between mass and weight. Mass is the measurement of the amount of matter something contains, and weight is the pull gravity has on an object.
I learned about the scientific notation. The scientific notation is the way that scientists easily handle very large numbers or very small numbers. For example, instead of writing 0. A lot of zeros, 5.6, we write 5.6 times 10 to the negative 9th power.
Chapter 4, Atomic Structure. We learned about the history of the atomic theory. And the atomic theory states that all matter is made up of atoms.
I learned about the size of atoms. The diameter of an atom ranges from about 0.1 to 0.5 nanometers. All the atoms of an element are not alike.
Chapter 5, Electrons and Atoms. We learned about the quantum mechanical model. The quantum mechanical model of the atom uses complex shapes and orbitals, volumes of space in which there is likely to be an electron. It's a probability rather than a certainty.
Yeah, I agree with that one. That was my favorite part too.
Chapter 6, we learned about the 3 types of elements, and the 3 main types are metals, metalloids, and nonmetals.
And I learned about the families of an element. In chemistry, a group is a column of elements in the periodic table of the chemical elements. There are 18 numbered groups in the periodic table.
Chapter 7, Ionic and Metallic Bonding. We learned about ions. Ions are a charged atom or molecule, and it's charged because one electron does not equal the number of protons.
Yeah. Chapter 8, I learned about molecular orbitals. In chemistry, a molecular orbital is a mathematical function describing the wave-like behavior of an electron in a molecule.
I agree with that one on chapter 8. Chapter 9, we learned about cations and anions. Cations are positively charged and anions are negatively charged.
I learned about names for molecular compounds. When naming molecular compounds, prefixes are used to dictate the number of the given element present in the compound. If there's only one of the first element, you can drop the prefix. Chapter 10, I learned about ways to measure matter, which is there's mass, volume, and count, and examples of those. For mass is birdseed, for volume is a paint can, and for count is a box of pins.
I agree with that one. On chapter 11, I learned about the catalyst, and the catalyst is a substance that increases a chemical reaction but does not chemically change itself.
And I learned about types of chemical reactions, and the 5 major types are combination, decomposition, single replacement, double replacement, and combustion.
And that's all the chapters.
Was that chapter 11?
Yeah.
Well, let's hear it for them.